Well, good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As Yusuf mentioned, my name's Richard Dean. I'm a journalist and broadcaster based here in Dubai with Dubai Eye Radio and indeed Dubai One Television, like my esteemed colleague before me. And it really is an honor to be here today to moderate this panel on digital management. Now, our panel today will be discussing the role of digital management in a range of issues, but particularly, of course, given the focus of this event, on managing projects, but also day-to-day operations, because digitalization, the fourth industrial revolution, we all know that they're transforming the way we communicate, the way we work, the way we live, the way we operate, and what a fabulous panel we have here today. May I briefly introduce them? First of all, to my left, His Excellency Omar Sultan Al Alama, Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence, Digital Economy and Remote Work Applications here in the UAE. Now, His Excellency joined the federal government in 2017 as Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence, and journalists around the world, and indeed here in Dubai, got very excited about having the world's first Minister for AI, responsible for enhancing the government performance by investing the latest technologies and tools of artificial intelligence, and of course, applying them in various sectors. July 2020, he was appointed Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence, Digital Economy and Remote Work Applications. That is his federal role. He also has a very important role here within the Emirate of Dubai, and we'll get to that shortly. Also joining us today, I'm delighted to say, from Saudi Arabia, Ahlan wa Sahlan, His Excellency, Professor Abdullah bin Sharaf Al Ghamdi, the President, Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority. Now, His Excellency is currently the President of the Saudi Data and AI Authority and chairs numerous boards and committees. Prior to his appointment at SDAIA, he worked as the Director of the National Information Center. He has vast experience in the field of information technology. He is clearly far more educated and erudite on this matter than me, but the one thing that we both have in common is we both studied in the UK city of Sheffield, where His Excellency got his PhD, while I got a humble qualification in journalism. And finally, making up our panel today from the private sector, it's a real pleasure to have joining us from Egypt today, Ms. Myrna Araf, Country General Manager for Microsoft Egypt. Now, Ms. Araf brings 19 years of experience with multinational organizations and public sector entities across Europe, across the Middle East and also Africa. She is equipped with a strong belief in empathy-based management. And let's not forget that, even with such a big focus on technology. In youth training, she is the first woman to assume the prestigious role of Country General Manager for Microsoft Egypt, leading not just Microsoft, but also in many ways the nation's technological movement towards digital transformation. And I think what's interesting is she's been with Microsoft for some time now, but has a much more broad-based experience within the private sector in engineering and construction as well. So it's not just within technology, but with organizations using technology to move forward. Please join me in welcoming our panel today. Well, Your Excellency Al Alama, if I can begin with you, and I hinted at your role federally, but also here within Dubai as well. If we talk about the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy, formed 6 months or so ago, what can you tell us about the roadmap that was adopted then with that organization and some of the landmarks and milestones that you've achieved so far?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great question. Wonderful event. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to see such a turnout after lunch. Most events, actually, the session rooms tend to be empty after lunch. So this shows how interested you are in the topic. But the other thing I want to mention is that I couldn't stop my mind thinking about how we can finance projects using Bored Apes after Dr. Pippa's session. It's very interesting to see how models are changing and how people are adopting new modes or new technologies to create more innovative solutions. On the Dubai Chamber for Digital Economy, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum is a leader that needs no introduction. He's a leader that has a lot of achievements that he can show for. But he's also a leader that is restless in terms of wanting to achieve more, wanting to give more, and wanting to make sure that we have the best in the UAE compared to the rest of the world. Now, before talking about the chamber, I want to take you back 20 years ago. And I want to take you back to a country that was not known for technology, a country that was still a startup nation. It was 35 years old at that point of time. And there was a new technology called the internet. People were saying that it's a fad. People were saying that the internet is not going to remain, and that it was just a phase that we're going to go through. You had a brave and courageous leader that made a statement at that point of time and said, we believe in the internet so much that we're going to create a city dedicated to the internet, Dubai Internet City, and we're going to put a plan to put our government on the internet and adopt it and embrace it fully. It was an audacious statement that required a lot of courage. And there were a lot of naysayers. But today, nearly 20 years after that announcement was made, you see that the UAE is #1 in e-government, probably globally, and one of the best countries in the world in terms of digital transformation. You see the digital economy in the UAE is the best in the region and one of the best in the world. And you also see the quality of startups, the quality of people working on them are unprecedented for the Middle East and one of the top globally. In 20 years, today we can actually point back and say the value of digital economy startups in Dubai alone is 100 billion dirhams. It's an economy on its own. And we hear about success stories each and every single day. We hear about founders flocking in from around the world to set up in the UAE and to take their idea to the world. And that was achieved because of project management and delivery, constant delivery of these visions. If you just set that vision 20 years ago and nothing happened, we wouldn't have been where we are today. Dubai Chamber for Digital Economy looks to accelerate that. His Highness was not happy with just achieving what we've achieved. He said we need to make sure that we can be on the global stage. We need to double our numbers, so we're aiming for 200 billion, hopefully, in the next 5 years. And we want to make sure that our ecosystem is the most appealing ecosystem for founders from around the world, not just UAE founders, to come and create and then use the UAE as a launch pad for the rest of the world.
Well, I have to say, I moved to Dubai I'm British, but I moved to Dubai in 1998 to work as a journalist. And I was one of those cynical journalists in the late 90s when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed announced Internet City and said, yeah, it'll never work, no one will come here. But I was also the journalist who said Souk would never work because it was just a copycat of Amazon, and Kareem would never work because it was just a copycat of Uber. So it shows how much I know about technology. Thankfully, we have panelists here today with far more insight and indeed foresight, which brings me, Your Excellency Al-Ghamdi, to you, Professor. And it's a similar question in many ways about the situation in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia at the moment. Can you tell us about Saudi Arabia's goals for the use of artificial intelligence in particular, and how your authority and the work you're doing is contributing to achieving these goals?
Thank you, Richard. When you talk about Saudi, we talk about a country member of the G20 with a GDP of $700 billion and a population of 34 million. And as you know, Saudi is coming through a comprehensive transformation or transformational transition plan with many projects. Our big part at SDAIA, the Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority, is to use the data through a continuous feedback loop to enable the decision makers in order to manage their sectors. So normally we inform and guide the decision makers with insights after unlocking the potential value of data. We think those insights are very necessary for the decision makers in various sectors, you name it: energy, education, health, transportation, municipality, safety. So the idea is to help them establish for a data-driven economy for the long run. We think that those insights are very important for this transformation project. Basically, undertaking a project with such giga size is fraught with risks. In order to mitigate those risks, we decided to follow a strict agile methodology that can provide us with continuous feedback loop where we can go through multiple cycles. At the end of each cycle, we come up with a working product. Basically, normally the agile approach is adopted at the institutional level, but this time we took it at a higher level, at a national level. Unopposed to the waterfall model, as you know, the waterfall model focuses on a big bang product in the end, where it is too late to fix the problems, and maybe you realize that you have a product that is not, fit for purpose, and maybe completely irrelevant to the current context. An agile methodology enables us, as I said, to create this continuous feedback loop where we go through different multiple cycles, and then each cycle ends with an impact or a quick win, and then we fix the data quality issues as we go through each cycle. We cannot wait to fix all the data quality issues before we come up with an impact. This is a lengthy process, but each cycle we fix some of the data issues, and then the second cycle we go to a bigger scope where we can also fix more and more data quality issues. As you know, data or high quality data is very, very, very important for the AI applications. So through this process, we managed to come up with accurate insights for the decision makers. And as I said, SDAIA, the Saudi Data and AI Authority, is results focused. And let me just quote one example. We targeted the last 2 years to generate savings and revenue for the government budget around $13 billion. And we achieved this. And also over the last 2 years, since the establishment of SDAIA and after strong push towards many criteria for the global AI index, now Saudi is #1 in the Arab world in that index. These just some examples of the achievements over the last 2 years on the project management and also in the artificial intelligence.
Myrna Arif, if I can turn to you. Again, it's a similar question. We go from, I guess, the biggest economy in the region to the largest population in the region, Egypt, where you're from and where you live. Now, you don't have a government mandate for digitalization in Egypt, but if you're the country head of Microsoft, it kind of falls at your door, doesn't it, a little bit, almost inevitably. So what do you see as the challenges that a country like Egypt faces in digitalization, and some thoughts on how you're overcoming those?
Thank you, Richard. And first of all, I'd like to say that it's an absolute pleasure being here today and obviously sharing the stage with such prominent and inspirational leaders. And I'd like to start to say, when we talk about digitalization, and I hope everyone would agree, that the pace of innovation has been accelerating at an unprecedented speed over the last 2 years. And technology, as you started by saying, Richard, has truly transformed every facet of how we work, how we live, how we learn, how we socialize. And with technology taking center stage, I think countries and government are really starting to realize that digitalization and digital transformation is no longer an ancillary activity. It's becoming more and more vital to sustainable development and to economic growth. Having said that, and as important as digital transformation is to a country's economic growth, and we definitely have to remain optimistic about the benefits of technology, but we also need to remain clear-eyed about the challenges. So there have been concerns around whether digital transformation will be impacting jobs, and concerns around the vulnerability to cyber attacks, concerns around the ethical use of technology and its implementation. And these concerns are very real. And every digital transformation journey faces various challenges from data, privacy, security, to ethical implementation of technology, and whether technology is actually leaving some people behind. And as you rightfully so said, this puts a huge responsibility on technology companies like Microsoft to really work very closely with companies and with government to overcome these challenges. And at Microsoft, we are fully committed to earning the trust and sustaining that trust with our customers, our partners, the communities we serve, and definitely the government that represents them all. Putting in place the right coalitions and partnerships to really address and drive the required innovative policies, to work closely with regulatory bodies to support the necessary regulatory framework to address such challenges, whether it's cybersecurity policies or data privacy, or more importantly, really putting in place an ethical framework. And this is what Microsoft has worked on and put in place. So we have an ethical framework when it comes to the development, implementation, and deployment of technology. It's built on 6 key principles: the principle of fairness, of safety and reliability, of inclusiveness, privacy and security, transparency, and principle number 6, which in my opinion, the most important, it's accountability. This principle truly looks at a very important question, in my opinion, one of the most important questions of our generation. How can we ensure that computers and technology would remain accountable and would put people first, or remain accountable to people? And how do we make sure that the people who are building these computers or designing these systems and these technological solutions would remain accountable to everyone else? So these are all important initiatives that Microsoft is leading in Egypt and in the various countries we operate in.
Thank you. Professor Al-Ghamdi, if I can come back to you on the specific areas within a large country like Saudi Arabia when it comes to AI. Because Saudi Arabia is large, not just in terms of the economy, but geographically, it's a very large country as well. So I'm interested in what you think are the most important factors to ensure the success of AI in a large country like Saudi Arabia.
Sure. I can list here 3 main factors. I think they are very essential factors for the success on the transformation towards AI, or let's say data and AI-based or driven economy. First is the technology, the robust infrastructure, networking, as well as the data bank, the policies that is associated with those technologies, and also the AI-based platforms. Those are issues related. Also the telecom infrastructure, 5G for example, they are very essential for the transformation towards AI-based economy. Second is the people. Basically, people are the most important factor and typically the most ignored factor in this transformation. We think people are very essential for this transformation, especially in the area of AI. We need to make sure that the leadership, the management, focus on developing their talents and different aspects of AI, you name it, the data quality, the machine learning, and also other subjects very important in the area of data and AI. Third is the impact. We have to make sure that we come up with the quick wins with impact, and we might, as I mentioned before, divide the life cycle of those projects into different stages or different cycles. Each cycle ends with an impact or a quick win. The leadership and management, it's very critical for them not to be busy with ticking the KPIs boxes. They should be driven by the results and the quick wins. And this is very essential to make sure that they are on the right path. And also to impress the clients or the decision makers. And let me just quote an example from our experience over the last 2 years over the pandemic. Basically, we wouldn't have been able to develop the national COVID-19 app, which is Tawakkalna, if we didn't have those factors or achievements for those factors in place. If we take it into the technology level, before the pandemic, we started building a national government cloud platform where we consolidated more than 170 data centers from around the kingdom and consolidated them into one single government cloud. Also, on top of that cloud, we built a national data bank where most of the national data are dumped into a central repository. And on top of that, we built our, let's say, AI platform to come up with certain insights necessary for any application. And on the people side, we had that time talented full-stack developers who spent 3 weeks to finish the Tawakkalna app. I remember during March 2020. And also, on the awareness side, we have a tech-savvy society who appreciated using the app within a very short period of time. And the interaction between this tech-savvy society and the app made it a success. And also on the level of impact, we started Tawakkalna to be a COVID-19 app to control the pandemic that time. But with the time passing over the last 2 years, we added more and more services to the app to become, in the end, like a national super app with many services. Now, the number of users for Tawakkalna exceeded 26 million active users with 144 services added to that app.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor. Can I pick up, Your Excellency Alama, on one word in particular that Professor Al-Ghamdi mentioned, and that is people, the war for tech talent. Because when he was saying that, I was thinking, well, yeah, but Myrna wants the best talent in the region to go and work for her at Microsoft in Cairo. And of course, part of your remit is to attract talent here in the UAE. So what do you think are the key factors in attracting this specialized talent and these talented organizations to come to the UAE and help with artificial intelligence and help with digitalization?
I think this is such a fundamental point, and most people actually forget it. They think that technology is the key, but technology is a means to an end. You use technology to achieve a target. And sometimes the target is misled because people think that the target is deploying artificial intelligence, which never is the target. The target is improving quality of life. The target is improving efficiency in certain aspects and other things like that. You know, I kept thinking to myself many years ago about the secret sauce that allowed the Dubai and the UAE to reach where it reached. And there are many reasons, but there was one reason in specific, which was the 3 Ps, in my opinion, that His Highness Sheikh Mohammed was able to tap upon that changed the paradigm in the Middle East. You're talking about a region of the world that was not known at that point to be excellence-driven, to be striving for number one. And then a leader came out of this region and really changed that paradigm. And the 3 Ps are purpose-driven, patient, passionate people. And when you think about these 3 Ps, and if you think about the importance of that, what would drive someone like Saeed Al-Tayr, who was speaking earlier today, or His Excellency Matar Al-Tayr, who have achieved so much, to say to themselves, how can I disrupt myself? How can I look at hydrogen? Or how can I look at self-driving transport? Even after achieving every single thing that they've achieved. It's because they're passionate, they're purpose-driven, and they understand that their purpose is not to just put in the infrastructure, to put the roads or to put the trains. It's to improve mobility. And that's the difference. The difference is, what does your deployment of technology lead to? And then it trickles down, right? So the leader does that, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed has a purpose-driven, passionate vision for the future to improve quality of life, to improve the state of the country. And then it goes down to the layer below him, the ministers and the DGs and the federal and local government. And then it goes down a layer below that and below that. And the fact of the matter is you can import talent. It's not very difficult. The more you pay, the better the talent that you're going to get. But the moment you stop paying, this talent is going to leave. And the thing about Dubai and the UAE that was special is through thick and thin, people stayed because they understood that when a promise is made, it is kept. And they understood that they can play a role in that future. Everyone here, even you said you were skeptical in the beginning. But what kept you here? 15 years later or 20 years later, it's the fact that you believe everything that is being said will be delivered. It's not about launching projects. And you trust the people that are delivering them. That's something that you can't buy with money. That's something that you cannot quick win. It's something that comes with time, and it's something that comes with a continuous roadmap. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And that's the difference. The other thing is, 200 nationalities living and thriving in one geographical boundary is not an easy feat. It requires tolerance, it requires openness, it requires the people have opportunities that they can share. It also requires that we are able to work together, not just say that we as Emiratis know the best, or you as a Scottish diaspora or whoever else knows best. We all know best, and we all want what's best for the UAE. And the Expo is the best example of that. The whole world has come together to celebrate a better future in nowhere else but Dubai and the UAE.
Very well said. Inspirational stuff. Reminds me of the fact that I met my Indian wife here in Dubai 17 years ago, a truly multicultural place. Mona Arif, if I can talk to you about some of the challenges faced when it comes to this journey of digital transformation. I mean, there are many of them, and we've spoken about some of them now. We've touched on them. But if you could highlight one or two, and then maybe some potential solutions. We've got about 8 minutes or so left. Love to get your thoughts on that.
Sure, thank you, Richard. And that's an important question, but I think I would love to maybe take a step backwards and look at really what does it take for a country to successfully digitally transform first. So I think for an entire country to really achieve successful digital transformation, we need to look at 4 key pillars. The first one is to build a strong digital society, and that entails transforming the country's citizens, its youth, its future and current workforce by providing them, like Your Excellency mentioned, providing them with the required skill set, the skill set of the future, to land the jobs of the future. So, and that really takes reimagining the entire learning journey, redefining education, how we provide those skillings, how can we upskill and reskill our current workforce to really bridge the skills gap with more and more requirement for specialized technical skills as we move into this digitally enabled world. And that takes us to the second pillar, which is really enabling digital transformation across the priority sectors of a country. I hope you'd agree with me, if we look at our region, I think we're witnessing a revolution in information and communication technology. And the scope of such revolution truly transcends the sector itself. And really for any country or government to achieve progress and economic growth, they must have a very strong ICT sector in the country to lead that transformation across the different industries. And that takes us to the third pillar, which is building a strong digital economy. So this needs an accelerated focus from the governments, looking at their homegrown innovators, looking at their startups and their SMEs, equipping them with the right skill sets, providing them with the right level of technology so that they can accelerate their scale-up journey. They can then start to create jobs. They will start to create downstream revenues. They will start to innovate and redefine and help us in the digital transformation, especially with tech startups. And I look at startups and SMEs as the true lifeblood of any economy, and they could be really a vital economic and employability engine. And finally, that takes us to the fourth pillar, which would address some of the challenges I spoke about. So the fourth pillar is really around responsible innovation. We need to put in place a responsible innovation framework. So with technology continuing to transform industries, economies, and countries, and helping us really solve some of society's most pressing challenges, there comes a deep responsibility to make sure that technology is not leaving anybody behind, that it is inclusive, and that it is following ethical principles. And this, as I mentioned earlier, it entails building those strong coalitions and partnerships between government officials, between technology companies, between the different industry stakeholders, to really drive the innovation in policies, to really support the required regulatory framework, whether it's around cloud-first policies, whether it's around data classification, as I said earlier, data privacy, cybersecurity. All these are very important policies and frameworks that needs to be in place to encourage and accelerate the adoption of digital transformation. So 4-pillar, building a digital society, enabling digital transformation, building a strong digital economy, and responsible innovation.
Thank you very much indeed. We are almost out of time, just a few minutes left. I'm going to ask our panelists to conclude their remarks by summarizing just 1 minute each on the one success factor when it comes to digital management that can make a difference either to a country, maybe even a city, or indeed an organization. So just 1 minute on that. And first of all, Your Excellency, Professor Al-Ghamdi, can I ask you to give us your 1 minute summary?
Thank you, Richard. Basically, while some people might think technology is the most important factor for the digital transformation, I believe people, talent, the human capital is the most important factor. So we have to make sure that we integrate topics like data, AI, emerging tech into our educational system. Second, also we have to make sure that we organize or we drive upskilling and reskilling programs like boot camps, mini degrees in the area of artificial intelligence and emerging tech. And also we need to increase the awareness of the people at various levels in the society, starting from the top leaders, going through the basic workers in the area of data and AI. This is in brief.
Thank you very much indeed. Myrna Aref, your 1 minute concluding remark.
I couldn't agree more with what His Excellency said. Of course, people first. And I think with tech intensity at the core, building a country's digital capacity by leveraging a knowledge-based economy and empowering citizens, youth, and workforce should be the priority number one, providing them with the skill set of the future that will help them venture into our digitally enabled world.
And finally, Your Excellency, Minister Al-Alama.
I'm going to try to address the crowd interest, which is project management. And I think people, of course, are number one in everything. So whether we talk about the purpose of government, why governments exist, we talk about project management or anything else. But what I would urge you all to look at is for you to see beyond the glitz and glamour of certain new buzzwords, like AI, like blockchain, and other things. You need to look at purpose. What is the purpose of this deployment? What is the purpose of this technology? And then you will understand exactly why this will serve you. I remember sitting once with a gentleman who said, I want to go and put a robot as a customer service agent. And we're going to pay X million to do this. And I told him, why do you need a robot? Just have a screen that tells people where to go and get a ticket. At the end of the day, the purpose is to help people go to where they want to go and get the service they want to get as fast as possible. You don't need that robot. And if you understand the purpose of your deployment, you will also understand why where you're at and what you're doing. And in any project, I urge you first to identify what the purpose is and then find the technologies that work to deliver that purpose in the best means possible. I think this is probably one of the reasons why you're seeing everything you're seeing today. A final example that I want you all to research. In the year 1999, there was a global Beanie Baby economy. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Beanie Babies, which are a small plush toy, were worth tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in the year 1999. And people used to think that this is an economy. If you went and put a national strategy based on Beanie Babies, you would have been crying for years to come. The internet, which came out at the same time, which did not have as much hype after the dot-com bubble, had a lot of potential. If you understood the purpose of the internet, you would have invested in it. If you don't understand the purpose, anything that becomes a hype will become your trend, which will actually lead to negative implications. So purpose, purpose, purpose for people. Thank you.
A wonderful way to end. Thank you very much indeed. Let's show our appreciation to our panelists. His Excellency Omar Sultan Al Alama, Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence, Digital Economy and Remote Work Applications here in the UAE. To His Excellency Professor Abdullah bin Sharaf Al Ghamdi, President, Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority, and Ms. Myrna Araf, Country General Manager for Microsoft Egypt. Shukran jazilan. Thank you very much indeed.